What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Let's talk about some wrestling because it is time for our new series, Highs and Lows. If it's your first time joining me on the channel, welcome. I love wrestling. I love talking about wrestling and maybe some other media in the future, but for now, that's our main focus. And in this channel, in this series, we separate the highs and the lows from shows like Raw, SmackDown, PLEs, all that stuff. Nothing new, nothing crazy, but if you want to hear my take on it, stick around, and I definitely want to hear your take. Leave it down below and let's talk about it. Also, if you hear any bumping, growling, or biting of toys, it's just my dog in the back. He loves to mess around when I'm recording, so we're just gonna let him do his thing. So with that, let's go ahead and get into it. Let's start with the first segment of Raw this week, which was Seth Rollins coming out and cutting a little promo. Now first, let's talk about the aura of Seth Rollins, what it means to be the man. Of course, now that he is aligned with Paul Heyman and Braun Breaker, we have a new faction aligning, and we have all of the reason to be excited. I've heard talks of evolution comparisons. I've heard talks of getting other people that would be really cool in this faction, all the way from like Austin Theory to some others. I think Austin Theory is my pick because I like the guy. I think he's underrated, but neither here nor there. Today was all about Seth Rollins, Breaker, and Heyman and establishing themselves throughout Raw. They were the main focus of the night, and that's a huge high. And I don't care what anybody says. I haven't seen the comments yet, but that fit was popping. All right, Seth Rollins knows how to dress up, man, and I want those eyeball glasses so bad. I would be absolutely freaking out. All sorts of people with them. It was very creepy, but in a good way. Like the vibe, like the fit, all that stuff. The new stable in general gets 2 thumbs up for me, honestly. And we didn't end there because Sami Zayn was the one to come out, interrupt Seth Rollins, and kind of call him out on his bull crap, saying, hey, look, man, look, I like you, but this is too much, all right? You're talking about taking down Roman. You're talking about taking down CM Punk when you're the exact same as them, getting all the way up to Paul Heyman in your corner. What are you doing? Of course, Seth doesn't take too kindly to this and tells Sami, listen, bud, you're either with us or you're a target. And so he gives him the entire night, and this is the storyline for the night. He gives Sami the entire night to think about that, to ponder that. It's not a threat, okay? He said it's not a threat. It's not a threat. But if he wants to live, then he better make the right choice. He can either join them or he can leave Raw and go to SmackDown. So what would he do? We would find out later. I do have to make a little observation here. Now, maybe I'm tripping. Maybe this is not a big deal, but I want to see if anybody else has noticed this. I feel like the people in the crowd are like a little confused now, and I don't blame them because the veil is so far gone as far as WWE's kayfabe, which, by the way, I don't think is a bad thing. I think it's inevitable in the age of the internet, but Seth Rollins comes out and they cheer, right? They cheer for the heel stable. And then Sami comes out and starts talking, and they start booing Seth. Then they cheer him, then they boo him. It's so confusing a little bit, right? Now, I don't think it's a bad thing. I put it as just a slight low because it happens all the time now. But I think it's just something that we're going to have to get used to as a new age wave of fans, essentially. So just thought that I would put that in there. See if anybody else has noticed this, or is it just me? And moving on to my personal favorite match of the night, I'm going to say, which was Rhea Ripley versus Roxanne Perez. Roxanne getting a lot of the shine today, and a lot of new talent getting the shine. I got to say, what a phenomenal match. 2 of the best in the business, and I love the NXT roster in general. Now, I would even go as far as to say a lot of them are far, far better than some of the people on the main roster. And that's not even a knock on them because they're also great, but NXT is just that good in my opinion. So this was a great showing. The match was phenomenal. Great storytelling. Roxanne focusing on the leg of Rhea Ripley. I love it when we focus on the body part. Makes total sense because she's very, very tiny. Rhea, very, very tall. What are you going to do whenever you're trying to fight a tall person? Got to chop them down to your size, right? All made sense. Was super entertaining. And then we had a disqualification finish with Julia coming in for the DQ. Usually I hate those. Not a fan. Did not really mind it here, though, because I think it makes sense. You don't want to give anybody a loss here. Instead, you just want to showcase the talent that you have. So overall, I thought this was a huge high overall. And on top of that, Io Sky coming out to help Rhea and kind of get this little weird relationship they have here where they're like kind of enemies right now, but also they're like looking out for each other as they're getting targeted, both getting targeted by the newcomers. And they're both veterans now. So Love it all around. Now, like, I gotta take a pause on this one for a second. This one was interesting for me. We had next Jey Uso and Logan Paul being confirmed for Backlash. Now look, well, actually, I don't know if it was I don't know if it was confirmed, but it pretty much was, because Logan Paul came out to cut a heel promo. Always great to see that. Can't stand the guy, so of course he gets booed. And then Jey Uso came out and interrupted him. And then this is setting up a match. And look, I was gonna put it as a low, because I was like, what? Jey Uso goes from Gunter, who's like an actual wrestler, to fighting a YouTuber. But then I thought about it. I said, let me think about it for a sec. I think I like it. Because you gotta look at it this way. And this is my opinion. I don't know if you disagree. I don't blame you, because I'm on the fence. For a first successful title defense, you need somebody who's going to be polarized, like who's going to be absolutely hated, right? Who's going to be absolutely despised. Who better than Logan Paul? It used to be Dominic, not anymore. You see that reaction at WrestleMania? No. And he's also the Intercontinental Champion right now. So if you're going to go with that, I think Logan Paul makes total sense. And he is a great wrestler, all right? And they're going to put on a good match, and it's going to drive interest. And Jey Uso is going to win, probably, most likely. And yeah, and then he'll move on to bigger and better things. Fighting contenders that we want him to fight. But as a first title defense, makes all the sense in the world. Sign me up. Was almost a low. Turned it into a high at the end. It was time for some Judgment Day and War Raiders action. A rematch of sorts, honestly. Except this time, no tag titles, as the New Day are the tag team champions. They came out to watch. And all I could think was, oi. Shout out to JD for signing up and doing this match again. It was a flashback to when he got hurt, because this was the match that took him out. And not only that, my man did the spot that took him out, but on the other side of the ring, and landed it clean. And it was just very poetic. I love that. It makes me love him even more. This guy's going to be a huge face. There's no way around it. He's going to have to separate from the Judgment Day at some point. Great stuff. Amazing work. What else can you say except a good match, a good solid match? Of course, the in-ring action, seeing JD back in wrestling in top form, all of that gets a high. However, the finish itself, I'm going to give it a low, and this is why. First off, I was scratching my head because the Judgment Day is in full control. JD is on the top rope and is about to deliver an aerial attack. I forget what it's called. And Carlito distracts the referee. And when he did it, I was like, why is he doing that? It made no sense, right? Am I the only one that thought that makes zero sense? Now, maybe it's part of the story where they can later be like, Carlito, why did you do that? But it was so dumb that it just left me going, wait, why did they? And then Penta came out, and of course that's why. Penta came out and pushed JD off, causing the distraction of, I guess, off of the distraction, and it's a lot of convolutedness, and I don't mind it, but we did just have a DQ finish. Now this one was not a DQ finish. The War Raiders won, but it was a weird finish, and it was a sketchy little finish, and I did not like them back to back. I definitely did not like how that was executed. Huge low for me there, personally. And then we had Becky Lynch coming out and screaming at everybody at the top of her lungs, and Lyra coming out and being like, calm down, girl. It's going to be okay. This setup is nice, okay? I think Becky Lynch did a great job in pretty much addressing real-life things that we all think, which is that she absolutely pushed Bayley out of the main event at WrestleMania, or out of the match before the main event at WrestleMania, and took it for herself. And she's using that. She even used what Bayley said on the Chris Van Vliet, that's how you say his name, channel, when she went on there and interviewed about this exact thing, getting spots taken, nobody liking her for some reason, and she used that in the promo. I love that, and kind of playing into this heel character when Lyra comes out, and we are confirming Lyra Valkyria versus Becky Lynch at Backlash. I think it's great. Give Lyra a proper feud against a very decorated female wrestler in Becky Lynch, one of the four horsewomen, and have her win. And I think we're off to the races for this, for finally maybe some credentials for this IC title, and which, by the way, is no fault of Lyra's. It's just being booked so weirdly. So hopefully we can get out of this rut and give some shine where it belongs. Now, where I will give a low, where I will is Becky Lynch's acting, man. I mean, yelling does not equal acting. And that's all I wrote as far as my notes, because she came out and just started yelling and yelling and yelling. And I was just like, it doesn't make sense for a person to be this heated right at the gate. You got to build to it. Now, what do I know about acting? I'm critiquing professionals. But as a consumer, as a fan, it stuck out to where I was like, I got to note that because it was a little distracting. Then we moved on to Stephanie Vaquer versus Ivy Nile. My second favorite match tonight, and I just love I love all the love that we're given to the women on this show. They absolutely deserve it. And all the young talent, like all the matches here are involving some form of young talent, whether it's JD, Stephanie Vaquer, like who's new, Ivy Nile, her opponent, and it's Lyra, right? She's getting a main focus. Braun Breaker in the main event. Like, we're getting all of this. Roxanne Perez. And it's great. It's like, yes, we're seeing the future unfold in front of us. And it's already good. I think it's going to get even better. So that's just a huge high. Shout out WWE. Thought that's a great thing. And this was just straight up a great match. Two great wrestlers. I definitely recommend checking it out. We had all of the spots that we needed to hit. And we had Stephanie Vaquer coming out on top. I think I said her name differently there. I don't actually know how to say it. That's fine. We're going to move on. And she got her first win on Raw. So yay. Good stuff. Did exactly what it needed to do. Ivy Nile is underrated. She will get her flowers. She will get her day in the sun. But it's not today. Right now she's doing great with Chad Gable and aligning herself with him and building up credibility and just showing off the in-ring work she's got as far as the look, the charisma, all that stuff. So good stuff, man. Really good. Which brings me to my least favorite part of the afternoon. It was indeed, and I hate to say this because I actually love everybody involved in this. It was Pat McAfee calling out Gunther. Now, look, I didn't think it was bad per se, but it stuck out, all right? The flow was flowing, and then we had this. And this was kind of my problem last week. Now, I didn't make a video on it last week. Had some things come up. You know how it be. But I did not really enjoy that. I don't really love when the commentators get involved. It just maybe it's going to be good. But every time it happens, I just think back to all those months that we spent with Michael Cole in the box. and I really just don't want to relive that. And I know he's blossomed since then. I absolutely love Michael Cole. And I love Pat McAfee. But when the commentators get involved, I just immediately think back to that and Jerry the King Lawler versus Michael Cole. And I'm like, does anybody want this again? Like, do we even want to risk this being a possibility? I don't. Okay? So for me, I'm saying, Pat McAfee, you did a great job doing what you had to do, but I'm going to put it as a low light. Not my favorite thing. I'm probably just going to skip over to the fact that McAfee's calling out Gunther. So we're going to have that at Backlash officially. I think it'll be fine. I don't think it's going to steal the show. It's kind of just blah to me. And moving on to something that is not blah, we had this storyline throughout the entire night, and it was Sami Zayn's decision. So I alluded to that at the beginning of the video. Shout out if you stuck around. If you stuck around this long, say, hey, I stuck around until this time, and hello, and whatever else you want to add there. But it was really good. I'll say, okay, it's just really good. I can't say anything bad about it. You had Sami Zayn versus Braun Breaker as the main event. Just a colossal match. Just phenomenal to see these two wrestle. And then on top of that, the finish was perfect. Of course, Sami Zayn deciding that he's going to fight, that he's not going to back down, right? So they have to teach him a lesson, as any good heel faction would do. Now, what did they do with that? Braun Breaker was in control. He's delivering spears. He's delivering heavy offense. And so much so that Sami Zayn actually gets knocked out, pretty much out cold. He's outside the ring. He rolls out, and he can't really continue. So the ref's checking on him and is calling for the doctors. They're doing a great job selling the power of Braun Breaker, the killer instinct in him, because he wasn't done there. Okay, he was told finish the job, right? And so Braun Breaker does his little running around the ring thing at full speed, runs through Sami, and they continue to obliterate him in the ring, outside of the ring, making an absolute mess of the man. and then we cut, and that's it. And I think that is perfect for this faction that we're trying to build credibility with. Love it. Love it, love it, love it, love it. Super high, and a great way to end the show. Highlights definitely were the match itself and the action. Sami Zayn doing his thing. The ending being like, okay, like the match is over. Like like it's not really a pinfall, submission, or count. It's over. You've destroyed him. Is so good for Braun Breaker's character. And I think Sami will be fine. I think it's not a burial at all. I think that gets used way too much. He'll be just fine. Fits the storyline. All good things. And with that, we're going to go ahead and call the video here. So overall, what do I think of Raw? I thought it was really good. If you can't tell, I'm typically very positive in these videos. I don't like to be negative because I do love the product of wrestling. And if you're watching, I'm assuming you do too. And so overall, I thought I was very entertained. 2.5 hours went by pretty quickly. Sometimes it doesn't. All right, this time it did. Felt like everything made sense for the most part. We had a couple of things that we nitpicked, but overall, great episode. Definitely worth a check for yourself if you missed anything and you have Netflix, or just watch the highlights on YouTube. Sometimes I do that myself. Do what you got to do to catch up. But until then, thank you guys for joining me. We'll talk about more things later on. I will see you on the next one. Until then, have a great day.